Why, hello dear viewer. So, another Silksong video, eh? Well, I did strive away from lore this time, trying to get that content mixed up a bit. Well, at least a tad bit. So one of you requested of me to list my specific expectations for Silksong, and I just made a list right here. So without further ado, I'll present my list of the top 5 things that I would like to see in Hollow Knight Silksong. Also, if you have any ideas or wishes for Silksong, my comment section is always open 24 hours a day. Number 5. A harder challenge than White Palace or Path of Pain. I am a man of torturing myself. But in all honesty, when I first did Hollow Knight's greatest platforming challenges, the White Palace and the Path of Pain, it gave me an accomplishment feeling that I didn't feel for a long time. It was a rush, I must say, especially Path of Pain. White Palace I completed in like an hour and stuff, and Path of Pain I needed around 2 or 2.5. It was a first for me to sit so long on one level and not give up. The only thing that made it worth it was basically telling everyone that I did it, to brag, you know, bragging rights and all of that. Now Silksong does not need an exact copy of it, and for me personally it doesn't need to hide story elements behind it. Just make it a fun little side challenge as in the first game. Now if it would be harder, however that might be possible, that'd be amazing, but probably also frustrating to many, so whatever Team Cherry's doing, I'll probably be happy. Number 4. Elements from Hollow Knight. This will need a bit of explaining. I wouldn't like Team Cherry copying or pasting elements into Silksong as if we're just another Hollow Knight, with nothing new to add. Silksong should stand on its own legs and not rely on the success of its predecessor. But, and this is a little but, it should maybe include a few elements from the last game, so don't leave us hanging with nothing to go on. A separate story, separate characters, I'm all down for that, no problem. But 1 or 2 nods or parts of the old game would be nice, perhaps in dialogue or in design choice. The story will of course be about Horner and her past, so we will probably see some of Halnest, perhaps in back flashes. Anyway, that'd be cool. Zote DLC, anyone? Number 3, bosses. That point sounds vague, but it's pretty simple. I love bosses, I like them in Hollow Knight, but I didn't really enjoy the Godmaster boss rush that much. Now I did have my fun, especially with the first 4 boss rushes, you know, the Pantheons and all of that. But the 5th one, dear lord, that was brutal. And it took me quite a lot of time just to reach another ending. An important one of course, it has some lore value, but it still took me most of the time I put into the game, and it did something worse for me in process. It made me distaste some of the bosses and also bored of the game at times. That's not to say it hindered my experience or my view on it and off it. I still love the game, it's the reason for my channel after all. But that last Pantheon, man, that wore me down. If Silksong had a boss rush, I wouldn't be sad, I would like it probably. I just prefer it in a different way than the first game handled it, so as it wouldn't worsen my enjoyment of the rest of the game or block me of content. I'd like to see a bit earlier than after hours and hours of mindless boss rush. Number 2, the King of Farloom. As a story element, I would like to have a king in Farloom. This is potentially vague on my part, except the part where Farloom is called a kingdom, we have no clue of a king. Heck, it seems more likely that it's controlled by those bell guys or a cult than by a king. But anywho, I'd still really enjoy a king. I loved the Pale King in the first game since he was arguably one of the most important aspects in the first game, lore-wise, but also left at a vague scale unless you talked a lot to NPCs and progressed the story further. Does the King of Farloom need to be exactly like this? No, definitely not. He could be a side NPC or boss or perhaps non-existent, only mentioned in passing. Personally, it's not mandatory for me, but I'm very interested in like monarchies and kings and queens and all of that. I find their stories often very fascinating, and perhaps this Farloomian king could make my experience one tidbit better than it will already probably be. Number 1, a good new game. So there wasn't much going on with this point. My one wish is that Silksong is in essence a completed, well thought through game. Seeing as what we are shown already, I have huge confidence in Team Cherry, and probably won't be disappointed. We've seen new gameplay elements, crafting a brand new world which looks totally amazing, a new quest system, boss, dungeons, and much more. It all seems so dazzling to me, and I'm very excited for the game all the time. All the time. It looks like the first game, but also better in a way. More stuff to do, more characters to meet, a bigger world to explore, or at least one that's just as big. Farlem itself looks like something I'd enjoy very much. From the coal forest to the workers in the deep docks, down to the box of the moss grotto, up to the top of the kingdom with the shining citadel. I honestly can't wait to battle my way through dungeons, meet new NPCs with distinct personalities, and uncover the mysteries of this land. Oh yeah, and multiple endings would be nice too. You know, just to crank up the lore a bit, get to know Hornet a bit better, maybe learn some of her stories, some of her families, weavers and all of that. You know the jizz. So guys, that's it. My wishes, my simple wishes, which I would like to see fulfilled in Silksong. What are your wishes and hopes? Perhaps you don't agree with some of my points, or you have a different idea. Then write me your letter of personal complaint into the comment section down below. Speak soon.